Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt-out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today's episode is entitled Unlearning. And let's start from a place of contemplating the learning that we have done in life. When I contemplate that at my 50 years old, it seems to be utterly huge, colossal almost, to think about everything that I have learnt in those years. And if you think about the fact that learning starts when we are so young, literally the moment we leave the womb. Some people even say before we leave the womb, we're learning from what we can pick up sensorily from our environment. But let's just, even from the moment we're born, we start to learn. And there are some wonderful things that we learn, aren't there, when we're very small? Some really helpful things. Some of that accidental learning is really helpful. You know, we might learn that things that are flames are hot, and we might learn that because we might experience it, and we would realise that hurts, and we don't want to put our hand in that again. It's a bad idea. We might learn because somebody teaches us about the dangers of the road and how if a bus hits you, it's not going to be good for you, that kind of thing. And one of the most interesting bits of learning that I think that I know happens when children are very small is they're learning about gravity. And I use that metaphor an awful lot when I talk about what I share in these sessions. There's a baby who, or a toddler who doesn't understand gravity. And as a result of that, they are throwing and dropping things in this attempt to find something. Well, unknowingly, unconsciously, they are accidentally learning that when you drop something, it falls down. And when mine were little, I always used to think they were being a bit mischievous when they were throwing things a lot or dropping things off the high chair, me picking it up and giving it back and then them dropping it again. But it's because they don't understand that there is a consistency to that way that life works, that there's a truth, a fact behind that. Life works this way, gravity is true, it happens all the time, and you can't really work outside it. But over time, of course, they learn to understand it, to understand gravity, and therefore generally have a better experience of life because they don't tend to drop things quite so much and break them. And they don't appear to be being quite so mischievous. So there's all this learning happening, much of which is super useful and ends up, being stuff that underpins how we live our life. But as I'm saying that phrase, underpins how we live our life, the other aspect of that accidental learning comes to mind. And that is the things we learn from the people around us and from our misunderstandings about things. The things we learn when somebody speaks to us harshly. The things we learn when somebody criticizes us or tells us we can't do something. That is happening, that learning is happening in the same system, in exactly the same way as all that useful stuff about gravity and flames and buses hurting you if they hit you. They're all happening at the same time. And I think that's why an intermingling or a meshing occurs, where they're indistinguishable. The bits that are true and the bits that are not true all end up in this kind of mush, really. And it all looks like it's true. It all looks like it is real and factual. And there's all sorts of things you can do, aren't there? You know, I used to use hypnotherapy to help people to let go of and to unlearn those things that they had picked up as they'd gone through life. But my experience of that was that the things often, you know, would still be around a little bit. And almost that, you know, the sense that if we still have that kind of thinking about ourselves, that the process that we've gone through hasn't worked. And I think that is the trap of self-development, isn't it? That we try something, kind of seems to help for a bit, then it rears its ugly head again. So we go back and do the thing again, or we do something different, or with this attempt to unlearn the things that we learn in that period. But what if we just developed a better sense of quality control? What if we just started to see the quality of what passes through our heads, especially when it's horrible thoughts about ourselves, especially when it's negative, unpleasant things telling us we're not good enough, we can't do this, we can't do that, all that kind of stuff. What if we just started to see that through a different lens, through a different perspective? What if we just started to see that it was all made of these angry encounters that we had with people when we were younger, and that whatever somebody else has said to us is firstly nothing to do with us. We're still carrying beliefs about ourselves that were created when we were 5 because some angry adult said something unpleasant to us or something about us, and we've somehow retained that, probably because it was done in anger. So that person might not even be here anymore. And that person certainly doesn't know who we are now. So that thought, you're not good enough, you can't do this, whatever, is made of that. It's just low quality. It's just not who we really are, because that's what we can start to see more of as we start to just take this thinking about ourselves a little less seriously. We can start to see more often our innate calm and confidence, clarity, our innate well-being, our innate resilience. We can start to see those things more readily, more easily, as our being bothered by what passes through our head, as our relationship with our thinking becomes more and more light, I suppose, more discerning. Because there's something about seeing the quality of it that helps us with letting it go or unlearning it. You know what it's like when you have some kind of quality control about something. Like Tinder's a great example. I spent a lot of time on Tinder once upon a time. And, you know, there were certain profiles that I would have immediately, my discernment would be like, really? You know, the picture of the guy with a fish, because he's on Plenty of Fish too, of course. The picture of the car, somebody who's posted pictures of their children. There are all sorts of things that immediately, for me, from my point of view, from my perspective, were just no's, you know. And imagine that. Imagine if you could literally hold your thinking like you would your phone and being on Tinder, and just swipe left on more of that rubbishy thinking about you. just because you've realised the quality of it, you've realised what it's made of. It's made of somebody's old angry thinking that's got nothing to do with you. That is transformational. And what comes to me when I'm saying that is, and how much easier than trying to change it. Because you can spend a lot of time trying to change it and it will still turn up. But what if it could turn up and have no meaning? That to me is truly transformational. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.